Jeff already. Jim.
And we
Rebecca,
are
if
live.
you're watching this, I love you.
Wow. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. Oh, I'm out of sorts already. Welcome. So glad that you're here. You found the greatest paragliding live talk show on Thursday nights. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. We have a very special guest tonight, Jeff Goin, the man. He's no stranger to the show. Many of you know him, but every single time he comes on the show, he brings something magnificent. Welcome, Jeff Goin.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Boy, that bar is really high.
We raise it every time too. Thank you for coming on, man. And thank you for
my pleasure.
I really appreciate it.
It's good to get out from behind my computer. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. Sorry. Still stuck in front of the computer.
That's okay.
We're all going that direction. Everyone is going to be in front of their computer.
But the good news is we're talking about something other than programming.
Right. That is true, because I know very little about programming. Very little.
Sometimes I feel like I'm the same boat.
Yeah. This show is brought to you by several sponsors that sponsor the show. It's been a little while since you've been on, so you're gonna have to wait just a second while I introduce the sponsors. Show is brought to you by Nebraska PPG, Josh Bowden. If you're in Nebraska, you can get some training from him. Go look at his website. There's a connection to that website in the description of this video. Go check out Nebraska PPG. The show is also brought to you by Resurgence PPG. Got a great organization there. If you check out their website, it is resurgenceppg.com. You can make donations to them to sponsor veterans that want to learn how to fly paragliders, learn how to fly paramotors. And some of the guys that are dealing with PTSD have found a great outlet. And Resurgence PPG, one of my favorite things to contribute to. It's actually the only other thing that I contribute to other than my church. It's a wonderful thing. And so the show is also brought to you by Mike Cotter and the guys from flymyppg.com. FlyMyPPG. If you're in Michigan, you need this. I was born in Michigan, so there's a soft spot in my heart for the Fly My PPG guys. Go to flymyppg.com. Show is also brought to you by paraorangeproducts.com. Larry couldn't be with us. He's sick tonight. But go check out his website, paragliding. His website is paraorangeproducts.com. Show is brought to you by ppgsmoke.com. Lots of .coms tonight. Ryan Roberts is making all kinds of cool stuff. Go check out his website. And there's also a giveaway. We do it once a month now. The website or the place where you can get your name on the list is paraglidingtalk.com/contest. And make sure you read the rules. If you're overseas, we can't do the overseas things yet. But eventually, maybe we will send winnings overseas. But get your name in the hat. Show's also brought to you by Tri-State Skywalkers. If you're in the Indiana, Kentucky, or Ohio area, you can reach out to Brandon McCloud. He's got a great flying club over there. And there's a link in the description to get a hold of those guys. Show is also brought to you by I Fly Indiana Paragliding. If you're interested in flying paramotors, no better place than iflyindiana.com. Such a great group of people supporting the show. Thank you again. We have a new sponsor. That's One Up Paragliding. The website that they're promoting is actually paramotorprops.com. And they have these really good deals on props, probably a better deal than you're going to find anywhere else on the interwebs. And so thank you again. If you're just logging in and maybe you're a first timer, I'm always interested in the first timers. If you're a first timer, say I'm a first timer in the chat. And I want to say hi to you and thank you for joining tonight. All kinds of people logging in tonight. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. Jeff Goin. So glad you're here, man. I really appreciate you, man. You're everyone most requested guy for the show. You know that?
Well, that's cool. Wow.
People are like, yeah, you know what? We got to get Jeff Goin on again. And
that's encouraging.
Yeah, it's out of control. You're high demand.
Sometimes I feel like I'm what is it, overcommitted, but the flying thing, oh my goodness, I started the year out. It was so nice. Tim and I got a flight in at the first of the year because I feel like it's been forever. So it's nice to be back under wing.
Under wing. I like it. When was the last time you flew?
I flew January 1, and before that it was, I don't know, probably a month. And it's sad because I'm in Florida. It's beautiful.
Oh, really?
Even when we have bad weather, you can almost always fly early in the morning. In fact, when you were talking about Michigan, I thought, wow, now is a good time to support these guys up north because they don't have anything else to do.
Yeah, they're watching the show. It's a good time for the show, bad time for flying. Yeah. Have you ever flown in the snow?
In the beginning, there was much desperation of my visage. And yes, there was snow flying. In fact, I committed buffoonery on ice with the mini plane on a pond. I was just, I needed it. I needed it so bad for the first few years. Oh my goodness, it was out of control. Even as much as I hate the cold, I put on my space suit, my space helmet. That was a full face motorcycle helmet, all padded up. You get a leak in that and a little piece of air would flow up under. But no, I went out, I'm flying around, and I think I'm going to go do a foot drag on this pond. It's thick ice. I mean, it was cold for weeks. So the ice was really thick, no problem. I'm sliding along, having a good old time, get a little bit low. And the cage starts dragging. Throttle up to full, but I'm on a top 80, right? Not a lot of power. The frozen pond isn't so smooth. The drag gets bigger. I slow down and I stop. So I'm standing there. It was all in slow motion. And I'm standing there and I'm thinking, well, this isn't so bad. I'll just relaunch, right? But I'm on ice.
Oh.
So I did my normal thing, got the wing kind of fluffed and throttled up just a little bit. And on my very first step, thwack, down I went. Pushed off with my foot, landed on my face.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah, wasn't good. Did that one more time before I figured, not so bright sometimes, but I figured it out. It's like, yeah, maybe this isn't a good idea. So I went over to the shore, laid the wing out up the hill a little bit, and that worked. All I needed was the first few steps, and then I was fine. Took off on the ice. Never did that again.
So I have to know, is it possible to just hit the gas, kind of get your feet sliding and have enough thrust to take off like that?
I'll bet if you were a 147 pounder and you had a big powerful motor, you might be able to get away with that. But your chances of falling are, I would guess, really, really high. I mean, I've launched on rollerblades, and I know people have launched on ice skates and skis. So yeah, I don't see why not.
We need that. We need somebody to try that. That's skilled.
One of those Michigan or Indiana
Yeah.
guys. Hey, that's your mission now, because it ain't gonna be me.
YouTube needs it.
Yeah,
Gosh, the chat.
I'm
is
already
just-
on there for doing rollerblades. So
Oh, you
and
did the
water
roller-
ski. Launched with a water ski
Wait, how do you launch with a water ski?
with great difficulty. Let me tell you, took me a couple tries, but
This is awesome.
Stan Kasika showed up at the motorhome door. We had talked about it the night before. So early in the morning, I was in Christmas, Florida. Stan Kasika shows up and says he has a water ski in his hand. Water ski, knocks on the door. Hey, Jeff. Yeah, you were talking smack yesterday. Now's the time to do something about it. So we went off and took the parabarge over with a fellow named Dave. And I was first somehow. I guess it was, hey, man, you're the one that said wanted to do this. And I did. Nick Schultes beat me to the punch. But so there was a little bit of wind. I tried to reverse. I don't think that worked. So I did a forward, got up, and it is a pretty funny little thing. You know how we can kind of look funny a little bit when we're launching these things anyway?
Yeah.
Do it with a water ski. That's a duck walk. You know, you just, a little more speed, a little more ski bobble, and eventually that led to flight. What was really funny was there were two more funny points, not at the time. So I was water skiing, and I'm just an okay water skier, and it was slalom. So I'm water skiing, I'm having a good old time. You can only do these things if you have your hands in the air. Have you ever noticed that? I guess if I see that. So anyway, I'm water skiing and I'm flying, and then I forgot for a moment that I was flying. And when you do that, the wing starts going over here. It's like, oh yeah, the wing. Don't forget about that. You got to do both of these things. That didn't happen much. So I'm going around, and I go around the boat. David's videotaping, of course. And I'm going by these two logs. And I think I'm going to just, kind of go right over these logs. And then the logs went bloop.
Uh-oh.
They were an alligator.
Oh. Yeah.
I was out of there. Yeah, that was the end of my water skiing. Stan, on the other hand, is a very good water skier. We competed together. He's a great pilot. And so he took the water ski, he launched it, and he's out there. Well, he's a great water skier. Did I mention that? So I think he kind of forgot about the fact that the wing is, because he was doing it downwind. So he's doing it at about the speed that you would water ski, but he was downwind. Did I mention that?
Yeesh.
So he started getting a little heavy in the ski, kind of
Uh-oh.
like the ice. That only goes one way. He got heavy in the ski. That made more drag. That made him heavier in the ski. That made more drag. And even when he went to full power, it wasn't enough. I saw this coming in time to bring the camera up to bear and snap about 4 pictures as he went splush.
Oh.
He landed himself in the center of Paramotor magazine.
Really? Yeah, I didn't even know they had a paramotor magazine.
At the time, yeah. At some point, it went from Paramotor magazine and then combined into Cross Country magazine.
Oh, really? So paramotor magazine was the beginning of...
Well, no. XC magazine has been around for a long time, but mostly about paragliding. Paramotor magazine started, I think, by a guy in San Diego, went for a few years, and then sold it to Cross Country, who I think did it independently for a while, but then they merged them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Little tidbit of history. So that was my one and only paraski.
There was I heard that there was another show that people used to listen to on the radio. I can't remember what it was called. Do you guys remember what it was called?
About?
Was that
paragliding?
Casey Cadwell's
Yes.
show he was telling you about? Robert?
Yeah. Well, I don't think Casey started it, but Casey.
Oh, that was. Oh, yeah. I was part of that. That was Michael Purdon, or God, I can't believe it. Not Purdon. I can't believe I just.
Was Bob Hammond in there?
He was. Yeah. I can't. I just drew a blank, but yeah, it was Casey, Michael, then Bob, and we would kind of trade off.
So you guys had like a studio, the whole thing, huh?
Yeah, it was pretty high end. Now I did my part remotely. I think Bob did his remotely, and Michael and Casey were in the studio. Yeah, that was in the halcyon days, or whatever that word is. And it was a lot of fun. And then I wound up doing it for a while, and I wound up with, I think I had a guest on each continent, and someone dropped off, and I was trying to manage it. And that was my last show. Like, okay, this is too much work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. I hand it to you, man. Awesome job.
Oh, it's fun, man. It's a little smoother, I think, than a radio show, because it's just, you got one thing. I got my computer and a camera and a microphone.
It is easier now.
Yeah, I bet it was crazy doing a radio show.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Oh, Fly Swamper said it was called World PPG Show.
Okay, great. I can't believe I don't remember the name of it. I probably have old episodes. I mean, yeah, I did it every week for, I don't know, a year or more.
An hour per episode?
Yeah, it was an hour. And I don't remember if it was on the phone, you call in, or I don't remember how that worked.
That is so cool. Where was the studio at?
San Diego.
Was it really?
Yeah.
So I wonder if Casey ran that. He had that. That was at his bunker.
No, it was, I don't know, in some office type building in San Diego. It was a pretty nice setup.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The powered paragliding show.
Yeah.
People are talking about in the chat. I don't know if you're on the chat watching this Roku. Oh, nice. Some people are watching this on their big screen. That's what makes it kind of fun. They're laughing because they're saying he's Resurgence PPG. He said, "I'm watching this on my Roku. Jeff Goin's head is huge." That's so
Wait, I
awesome.
can change that. There we go. You know what happens though when you get to be this age and you don't have your glasses on? You notice my glasses aren't on? Yeah. You got to like eat the computer.
Oh.
Yeah, I could
I
get
have
my glasses on and then sit back more comfortably. These are, in fact, my computer glasses. There, how's that?
Mine are backwards, actually. My eyes are fine when I'm looking close, but when I go get in the car and I have to drive, I got to put on drivers.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of handy. Well, at least I don't operate heavy equipment.
Tommy South says he's watching on a 75-inch.
Oh my word!
Wow. Did he get popcorn with that?
Yeah. I can't say anything because sometimes I watch the show on a projector after the show. So, I got one of those little like the size of your cell phone micro projectors that I can put up in my room and just like the whole wall. Pow!
Yeah.
Whoa!
One cool thing about watching anything like paramotor videos or whatever you're watching on a cell phone is think about this. If you put that cell phone right up to your eye like that, it's like a big screen TV. Just use a little imagination. You got your big screen TV right there. Yes,
imagination.
Huge.
That's why I always like to watch the Tucker Got videos with the fan on my desk.
Hey, speaking
You
of
feel
which,
like you're really there.
oh, look at that.
Oh, you got the Tucker Got
Nice.
shirt.
Oh yeah.
Nice. That was quick. How did you change your shirt so fast?
Yeah, it's magic, man.
That was amazing. There's a group of guys. It says there's 18 of us are watching you guys from Dominican Republic. What's up, Dominican Republic?
Awesome. Do you know what they're going to be doing in the Dominican Republic that they're not going to be doing in Michigan or Indiana? Flying at the beach.
Yeah.
Good for you guys.
That's pretty cool. Anthony Perez. He's translating. Oh.
I'll bet his English is a lot better than my Spanish.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I've spent a fair amount of time flying in Mexico, and boy, did I have to stretch my Spanish a couple times. One when I landed on a beach. Wasn't planning on landing on that particular beach.
What'd they say?
They didn't say much until the second time I landed on the beach. That was when the motor quit again. I realized, I guess I didn't actually fix it. I'm glad I didn't piss anyone off because I had to get a ride.
So you had some splaining to do.
I'm flying along one of Jeff's many trips, probably Jeff Hammond's, and the motor started losing thrust. I did this, and it didn't do much back. So I'm starting to descend thinking, this isn't going to go well. I'm certainly not going to make it back anymore. All kinds of landing places, but the beach looked a lot better. So I landed on the beach. The thing about a paramotor is we know we can land them anywhere. I mean, how about that one-step landing? It's awesome, but we're not looking for landing sites most of the time. We're looking for relaunch sites when we figure out why the dang thing quit. And that's exactly what I was doing. So I landed and I sorted some things out that I thought fixed it. It sounds like maybe the fuel filters do that. And so I ran it up. Yeah, this is good. This is good. And I motioned, could I get you to move over here? I'm launching, all hand signals that I'm going to launch down the beach. And they were very cooperative and helpful. A smile and pleasant talk goes a long way in any language. So I took off, I circled once, waved at everybody, gave them thumbs up, and I'm climbing out. And then it started happening again. Power started decreasing. It's like, uh-oh. So anyway, I landed back on that beach. And someone who still didn't speak any English did give me a ride to where I was going.
That's great. And so you're pointing. You're like, hey, I need to go this
It's
way.
pointing right. You know, see, derecha.
Yeah.
The problem is that izquierda is left. That's about all I know, and
Yeah.
it's pretty limited. But you know, being friendly it's like 99 point something% of the humans will respond positively to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other 0.0 whatever will slit your throat and take a walk.
And take your motor. I did want to ask you a couple questions about safety, and
Okay.
a lot of the reasons why people come every week is to learn something that will make their flying safer, and also to preserve sites, things like that. My first question is about the. I'm about 3 years in. I'm coming up in just a month or two. I'll be 3 years flying, and I fly quite often. I've got a few hundred hours now of free flight, and we have a term in free flight called the intermediate syndrome. And so I just, if I can ask you to expound on that, and what are the dangers that guys should be looking for, because now we've had the show going for a couple years now, or at least going on. This is episode 104, so it's a big actually,
Well,
52,
you know, I've got
2 years.
I've got an interesting story from, I think it was last week, maybe a couple weeks ago when it happened. And this goes into another area that might be of interest to listeners, and it has to do with the FAA and incident reports. It was really cool. Number one, the guy did not get hurt. Number two, the power wasn't shut down for long.
Oh,
Probably know
no.
where I'm going with that.
Oh no.
And when the FAA came out, I mean, they don't really investigate, but you know, they could always say that, well, you were violating the what is it, 103? I forget the number already.
FAR 103.
It's the general 103.13. Is it? We have to look it up. That's the general. Hey, don't screw up. Don't do anything dumb, or we can get you for violating this rule. But what the FAA did was they said, listen, would you just report your incident on the database and we'll consider the matter closed? And so they did. The pilot reported it on the database, just so we all learn from these things. And the basic gist is he's an experienced pilot. He's landed at and flown out of much smaller sites than this, but he simply misjudged his height and distance away from wires. So it's a case of where intermediate syndrome is simply where your perceived skill exceeds your actual skill. It's like, okay, I've kind of arrived at this. I've gotten decent. I can push it a little bit more. And you're spending your skill on pushing margins instead of increasing safety. Hey, we all make choices. So I don't disparage anybody for those choices, but my part in education is simply to help us all and to remind me, because a lot of these things, I mean, we're always struggling no matter where you are. And man, I have found myself in these situations not that long ago where it doesn't matter whether you're intermediate or relatively new or really experienced. It's easy to spend the skill on pushing it instead of having greater margins. I mean, I've probably told the story about being out, you know, I live on a runway and I was out, I'm doing a demo and well, you know, it's nice here. Well, of course it's nice here. You're surrounded by 40 to 80 foot trees. So, you know, you look up, well, yeah, it's kind of swaying a little bit. Like, you know, but everybody's standing there on the driveway and well, you know, hey, I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I've flown in a lot of turbulence. I'll make it quick. I made it quick. All right. About got squatted out of the sky. So, you know, I came up with a new set rule to cure my intermediate or whatever syndrome. If the trees are a swaying on the ground, I'm a staying. You probably heard me say that. And so I have an objective measure that I use to say, no, don't do it. And yeah, intermediate syndrome, it gets a lot of us. I mean, we always have to fight it. And sometimes it's simple things. Yeah, you know, I've done this. Here is a good example. It's intermediate syndrome because you're now on your 10th flight of the day at the fly-in. I didn't get to go to this last fly-in, which was in my backyard. I really wanted to, but anyway, you're on your 10th flight. Do you do your hookup checklist? I contend that a lot of times we say, oh yeah, I always do this, blah, blah, blah. Now I contend that probably you do it at a rate. Pick a rate, because I don't do it. Tim and I, we give each other grief about, did you do your checklist? And I did it this last time, but I didn't the time before. I mean, I'm probably only about 80%. That means 1 out of 5 times I'm not doing it. So, you know, there are some things that you can miss. I do the leg, chest and chin, brakes and beaners, trimmers and zippers, run up, look and launch. Everybody has a different thing they do. Fine, as long as you do it. And there are some things that, you know, if you miss them, it could be bad. The zippers thing, you got something hanging out around your neck. I had a camera one time where the strap went into the motor, into the, it was the starter on a top 80. It didn't do any good for the strap or the starter, but thankfully it didn't whack my neck off because, you know, there's things attached to that I could use. So yeah, it works for any of us. It's just good to remind ourselves. And it's not like it's from the experience guide. It's like, hey, we're, you know, your experience, I mean, we're all at some point and we're always pushing that point wherever we are. So that's what happened. I mean, this guy, he was familiar with the site. It's like we have a road out here by my house. I love this road. The 2 yellow lines just cry for shoe soles to be slid along them. But there's power lines. So if I'm on the wrong section of the road, if I just forget and I get kind of into the moment, I could forget the power lines. So I try to remind myself, hey, intermediate dude, don't go beyond this point. Remind yourself before you go into an area, even though it's a home area. Another place where I see this is we were just out doing formation flying. And I've noticed about formation, mid-airs happen seemingly more often when there's only 2 or 3 people. That's probably because it's a lot more often that you're flying with 2 or 3 people. But still, it's easy to get a little complacent. And, you know, you're not looking, it's just like, he was just over there and I'm getting ready, you know, I got to set up the camera. It's like, hey, do I look good with this? Yeah. Because I got a helmet on, but you get the idea. Anyway, that's the intermediate thing again, when you've been flying with this person for forever and now you're flying in your familiar area and you just don't look. Lots of examples of intermediate syndrome. Hey, I think I got this. Yeah, you know, I'm pretty good. I can fly in this wind. And then the next thing you know, you're going over the back at Torrey Pines or wherever.
That's right.
That went on for longer than you thought. You know, it's like I try to do briefings at work. I tell the flight attendants we have to do a captain's briefing. I say this is a briefing, not a lunging.
Yeah. By the way, we need to give something away.
Yeah. Oh, this is good too.
You know, I have to say, Sean, I really appreciate you working on the wheel. I can see you over there just putting
Like
people's
crazy,
names in the wheel.
Hits the background.
That's right. Yeah. The madhouse.
Yeah. This is great here. So now y'all can see my screen, right? We've got everybody in here that has been in the chat, and we're about to spin. Here we go, lovely people.
We're doing something special.
Who's gonna win?
We're giving away actually an iron-on patch that says Paragliding Talk. Not a Patterson, congratulations. You win tonight's. I'm showing on my screen. I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah, super clear. You can see through it like vinyl, right? Is that what that is, vinyl?
This is iron-on vinyl. Or you can message me on Instagram. There's an Instagram.
Yeah, I think her stream went down there for a minute.
Oh, well, anyways.
Yeah, I believe it was Kit Patterson. I believe I had to look it back up again. I was so excited to spin the wheel, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Spin the wheel.
I know. It's an exciting thing to do. You spin that wheel and it's like chicka chicka chicka. I hear the sounds. It's like you guys don't hear nothing. And it's like you know, when they you know.
We need to figure out how to stream the sound in.
Yeah, I haven't been able to figure it out on Zoom yet, but it's pretty sweet.
There must be a lot of people. I can't tell how many people are watching, but I keep seeing. 70?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's
including the entire country of Iran.
and 18 in Dominican.
He said.
Lo siento, amigo. No habla español. Poquito español. Lo siento. Anthony Peregringo knows a lot of Spanish. He could probably rattle on for a little while.
Mucho grande.
That's all you got.
Volare.
What do they say in is it gosh, I think it's in Colombia. They say pura vida. Is that Colombia?
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. That's what it is. You got it. Yeah. Costa Rica. Pura vida.
Sounds like coffee to me.
Yeah, pura vida. Me, it's kind of like live your best life right now or something like that. It's kind of like life is good or something.
Pure life.
Oh, pure life. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
I flew down there. It was nice. Very nice.
Oh, really? Paramotor and free flight?
I think just free flight.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I didn't have
Now-
a paramotor with me, sadly.
What do you think about free flight?
Oh, I love it. If you gave me a choice, if I was at a free flight site and I had a motor, I go free flying. So I
Really?
love both, obviously. And there are some places where I soar here in Florida, but it's the really low soaring where you're on a small ridge. I know I've talked about this before, where you only have maybe 10 feet of rise, 10 feet of hill. What is it called? Sea grapes. And if you have a strong wind, you can fly there. You can soar all day long.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's a few places on the East Coast where if the wind is out of about 060 or so within 20 or 30 degrees of that, which is east-northeast, then you can stay up for hours.
Rossman was what were you going to say?
I was going to say, be careful though, because if you get blown over the back, it doesn't go well.
Oh, yeah. I got dragged up the face of, you've flown at Torrey Pines. I got dragged all the way from like where you land on the box, all the way to the where the hang gliders go, because my foot got caught in my harness, and then I fumbled, and I was way too relaxed. I think that's an important thing, that when you start getting dragged, don't panic and start doing weird stuff. Sometimes you can fix it and just relax and think about what's happening. But I was dealing with a little vertigo at that time too, so it didn't help. Felt like I was just in a washing machine, and went all the way to the top. And before I don't remember who it was, but thank you. Somebody came up and just grabbed my wing and took control. And I was kind of laying there just laughing, and I'm like, unreal. This is super embarrassing, because I try really hard not to screw up at Torrey Pines, because I feel like everyone's watching me.
They are.
And they and dude, there's been times when Russman is there on the ground where for whatever reason he doesn't want to fly, and then he'll just get on radio and he'll just talk smack to me, or he'll say, he'll be like, Robert, you know what you should do right now, and he's my instructor, so I instantly just go into like training mode, like, okay, I need to do that. And it was a really windy day, and yeah, anyways, rest is history. He's walking me through some high wind landings. I actually like it.
Oh, I love high winds. That's the thing about high winds, is you don't have any struggle getting the wing up,
Right?
and you can magically levitate.
Yes, that's it.
Is remarkable.
You said it. I didn't. That's exactly why I like it.
And how many miles per hour is that you're considering?
Like 15.
I
It
think a lot probably depends on the wing though, too, doesn't it?
Exactly. Your weight,
Yeah.
the wing. Think of wing loading. That's one of the most important numbers. Is if you're really heavy on the wing, you can handle more wind. But you're really heavy on the wing, and you're really confident of your ground handling skills, because it's all about ground handling skills. One of the big things, if you're going to be in the wind, pick a place where getting dragged back is not consequential to learn.
Yeah.
You don't want to
Wire
get
fence.
strained through a lot of things back there. And you will. Oh, I've spent a lot of time in the bushes while I was learning that.
Yes.
down in
Me
Mexico.
too. Beach is nice if you have that as an option. Very forgiving, but you're gonna fill your stuff with sand. Sandy.
Yeah, and beaches, you just got to be careful. Like there's beaches where there's a lot of blowback option, and then there are beaches like some of these sites in Florida that I was talking about, where you've got wires and A1A with fast moving cars behind it. So
Ooh, yeah.
really, it's not a good place to learn. You want to have perfected, more than anything else, you want to have perfected how to depower the wing, how to bring it down. Be able to fly backwards. And as William Shatner would say, the prime directive, always fly the wing. No matter what your body is doing, keep flying the wing, because just like you said, you can frequently salvage something like that. Even if your body is sprawled out embarrassingly over the grass, you may be able to fly that wing and bring it down gracefully. Maybe.
It is quite. You have to think about it. If the velocity of the wind is, if your wing's on the ground and you're laying on the ground because you fumbled, that same force that was holding your weight in the air is now pulling you along the ground. So
But here's the interesting thing, and I encourage anyone to try this. So go out on a safe windy day where you've got an open area and see if you're comfortable kiting the wing in it. See if you can get the tip to touch. You'll find that if you can keep off the brakes and just do the minimal amount of control required, you can touch the wingtip. Well, that's like a failing situation where the wing has gone over the edge. And now if you can keep your composure, you may be able to bring it back up to where you can control it easier. Because the problem is, once let's say, I'm gonna get up here. So let's say the wind is blowing this way, your wing is up here, and now it goes over to the side. Well, that's okay if you've got some wing up here, as long as it stays over to the side. But if it starts to collapse and goes back, now when it reinflates, it's gonna pull you. But if you can keep it under control and over here, inflated and pulling reasonably lightly, you maintain control and you can bring it back overhead, where now you can direct it to where you want. And that's happened. Of course, I've screwed up plenty of times and used that to get back out of the bushes. Oh, did I say in the bushes?
I bought
something I like to do when I'm kiting is make a snail trail.
Yeah.
You know, just like lay down with the glider and let the glider drag me in certain areas. I want to go over there. Okay, let the glider take me over there, you know, and then try to practice depowering, things like that. Yeah.
That's great practice.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun. I really enjoy using the Cobra method to launch when it's strong, like especially at Blossom. There's forgiveness involved when you're at Torrey Pines when it's windy. Not so much at Blossom. Not so much. And
I've
if you've
done it many times.
Yeah, the Cobra launch, it's like you just have much more control, and getting plucked is one of those things that's one of my fears, is not being ready for it and just getting blasted, because it happened to me a few times when I was a new pilot and just, so gung-ho. I have to fly. I want to fly. And some of the old school guys are like, hey, calm down, chill out. You don't need to launch in this. We're sitting here for a reason. And I'm like, well, I got off work early, and this was time earned, and I need to fly. I should be in the air.
I drove all this way, doggone it all. It's gonna be flyable.
That's right. It's gonna work. I have to fly. Yeah. That's I think that's a nice little step to get past. Once you get past that I have to fly mentality, it's like there's like almost like you feel like a little relief with your insanity.
That is the good side of intermediate syndrome, is when you've been flying long enough that you look at this weather and think, yeah, I don't need it this bad.
Yeah. And I really don't want to get thrown in the lee of Blossom.
Right.
It's just one of those things. I'm not interested. And I don't know why.
Yeah. Thankfully, I don't think I've been there. I did have an interesting thing. When I was into hang gliding, I did a hang gliding lesson there. And
Really?
yeah.
I didn't know you did hang gliding. That's awesome.
I did. I haven't done it in a few years now, just so many things. But the instructor, he was a former competition pilot. Of course, I've drawn a blank on his name now. And he had his own glider, and he was out there and basically talking me through approaches to topland. So I was flying around. And in fact, at the beginning of the video, Airspace and Law for Ultralights, there's a hang glider out there, and that's yours truly in the hang glider.
Nice.
So the guy was talking me through it. And of course, I don't want to wind up in a Lee of Blossom out there either in a hang glider. And I'm getting lower and I'm getting a little more comfortable, but I did get down a little bit farther than I wanted. So the next thing I know, I'm coming in and then I just touched down. Oops. So I guess I top landed and I stood up.
Really?
Yeah. But it wasn't, that was not, no, I don't recommend that. It was under control, but it was not under control because I wasn't planning on it. Well, that's a screw up. That's not a top landing. So
it wasn't John Heine, was it?
John Heine, thank
Is
you.
that who it was? Nice.
Yeah.
He's a champ. I love that guy.
He's a great guy. Oh my goodness, does he have patience too? He didn't say much because he was there. It's like, well, yeah, I guess you top landed there, but this wasn't part of the plan.
Yeah.
So I just stood up with a glider, and and Phil was out there. Phil was the one that did the video.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really like John. He gave me a ride down not too long ago in his span. It was great.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
good to hear he's still flying.
Yeah, he's a champ, man. I wasn't there, but I heard he did a loop the other day at Torrey Pines.
Really? Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
he's getting up there in the age and still doing loops.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he's not dead yet.
that's right.
That's what I tell people, hey, I may be old, but I ain't dead yet. I'm still foot launching paramotors and riding unit. You know how this one wheel craze has gotten out of hand?
Yes.
Well, I got my own one wheel. Hold that thought. One wheel. Yep. Here you go. That's my one
unicycle.
wheel.
Nice.
That unicycle. So anyway, I've been
I can
riding
ride a
that.
unicycle.
Do you?
Yeah.
How long you been riding that?
Oh, since I was, like 100 years ago. Yeah. Long time.
My dad had one. We were kids. We were the neighbors were clowns, and they had a 6-footer.
Literally.
Oh my goodness. Those are really tough. I can't ride that.
Me and my little brother learned how to ride 6-footers. We ride it all the way around the whole block.
I just gotta say, maybe it's the fact that I'm in this room.
Yeah.
But I got this visual. I got this visual in my head of Jeff sitting on a unicycle in his pilot's outfit, riding his unicycle out there to the airstrip, going right by the plane, hopping right in, like, here we go, guys, and everybody's like, really? This guy's flying us? He's like, yeah, woohoo!
A great
I had
question.
a Santa hat on. I flew for work on Christmas Day. I had my Santa hat on. It was a borrowed Santa hat. But anyway.
Yeah.
There was a question, and this question came up early in the chat from Fly Swamper, and he was asking about the yellow stuff on the Sky Vector, and so I've heard that you're not supposed to fly over that because it's congested area, and then I heard the argument that no, that's just showing the lights that you will see at night. There is no official word on it, but it is intended to show pilots light patterns. And one way you can know this is that we fly legally from parks, and parks aren't on the charts. I mean, little parks, as long as you don't fly over the congested area. And that means, you can be 50 feet from the edge of what would be congested area. And if you're not over that, you're good. I've flown from parks. In fact, that's in Airspace and Law for Ultralights was one of these city parks. I mean, it was in Chicago. And I was asked to do a demo flight. My brother had his kids in this school, so they got me permission to fly from it. And the FAA has precedent that shows if you're over the confines of that congested area or of that open area, you're okay. So I would say that even though it's always up to interpretation, if you can show that you're over the park, you're golden.
So the yellow areas are just for pilots who are flying at night.
I like that. I've considered getting my pilot's license for fixed wings.
It's a lot
and
of
stuff.
fun. And it's kind of useful. You've probably heard the saying, time to spare, go by air.
No, I've never heard that. I like that.
Yeah, well, there's some truth to that. Even more time to spare, go by a little airplane. Doesn't rhyme as well, but it's certainly true. And I mean, I've got a moderately capable little airplane, but I'm down when I fly the Boeing, it's a little bit, I got a little more margin there. You got 2 big jet engines, I got 2 pilots, bunch of radios, dispatcher, blah, blah, blah. When it's the Bonanza, it's just me. So I like to say I'm down to 1 pilot, 1 radio, and 1 engine. I'm almost in the emergency. So if the weather gets down below about 802, meaning 800-foot overcast and 2 miles visibility, I'm probably not going to go. That's pretty limiting, but it's still a lot of fun. And you can go places you would not otherwise go in a paramotor.
What's your favorite commercial airliner to fly?
Well, I've only flown 3. So my favorite is the one that's paying me right now.
Nice. Well, that's good though. That's good.
And that would be the mighty 737. Unfortunately, the somewhat maligned 737, but that's the max. So yeah.
Somebody's
I'm gonna be a
asking
part of
to
making that safer though. I hope.
somebody's asking about Mike S. He said, could Jeff elaborate on congested area?
Yes. Congested area is whatever the FAA says it is. So I know that's not what anybody wants to hear, but to go in a little more detail, what you can do is look at who has been convicted of flying in congested areas. Since it has not been defined in the reg, they leave it open to interpretation. Precedent is our best source, and it suggests that if there is 1 house per acre, they can say that's congested. That case wasn't about an ultralight pilot, but it was a ruling on the term congested. 1 house per acre. Well, that's pretty sparse as far as housing goes. And that doesn't mean that that is congested, but that FAA person, and I don't remember if it went to the NTSB or not, they had no problem finding the pilot over it. So it's safe to say that if somebody else thinks it's congested, number 1, they're the ones that will probably report it. So as we've said many times, the big thing is don't get reported.
Yeah.
Don't look like you're doing anything dangerous. So if you think somebody might consider it congested, go 500 feet. We don't have any 500-foot rule, but go higher. You are almost entirely unobservable if you're above 500 feet. Nobody cares.
Yep.
But if you're turning 360 with your wingtip on the ground next to someone's house, it's going to draw more attention. So that's my advice. And as far as what the law says, I think these precedents tell us. And there's also some other interesting things, like how about flying over roads? Well, pilots have been fined for flying over a 4-lane road. And the judge's comment was, at that time, on that day, with that traffic, we're going to agree with the FAA and say that it was congested.
Wow.
I know. I mean, how many times do you fly over an interstate? I have I-4 right down to the south of me. And I think about it, so go high. If you're going to go over the interstate, don't do it at 100 feet. Do it at 500 feet. They don't even know you're there. Nobody's going to say a word.
Wow.
Is it congested? That depends. It depends on the FAA guy and the law judge and what they think of you and what they had for dinner. If you're in the morning, you're less likely to get convicted than if you're in the afternoon. There's research on that.
That's
Monday or Friday.
Monday or
There
Friday.
you go.
Brutal. Some really good questions just popped up in the chat, and we got a few more minutes. And I know these are controversial, so I really appreciate you going after these questions, and you are the man to answer them realistically. Jim Furman asked, he said, ask him his views on the ADS-B requirement and the drone ID proposal. Are paramotors next? ?
I don't think so. I mean, it's ours to lose. The FAA just doesn't want to deal with us. I mean, that's been my observation in working with them for years. I mean, for the most part, unless you make yourself their mission, they want to resolve it and do away with it. So ADS-B is a device, as most pilots probably know, that shows your location on the other airplanes. Now, the other airplane may not have a receiver, but they all have to have a transmitter. And that's in effect now. I have a transmitter on both the helicopter and the airplane. I had it some time ago. However, my thought is this. I want the airplane to know I'm there. So I've looked at, what about putting one of these drone devices from, what is it, there's a company, UAT, look up ADS-B for drones. If we Google that, I'm going to Google that while I'm talking. These things allow the airplane pilots to see us and report us. Wouldn't that be cool? I've been flying in the Bonanza around here. You know, I'm in Florida. This is freaking Mecca for paramotors. I mean, it's hard to go flying the Bonanza and not see one if you're flying in that weather. So I'd love to know they're out there and be able to. So my thought is, I don't think the FAA is going to require them. Now, if we go do dumb stuff, if we go fly around airline airports, if we go get ourselves run into by a corporate jet or something with some important people, pressure will be applied to the FAA. They're mostly a political organization. So I don't think so. You know, Jim, he's a controller. And so he appreciates knowing where traffic is. If there's a paramotor out there, yeah, it'd be kind of nice, not just for the airplane people, but for the controllers. They'll know where you are. And let's see if I can find this company, Avionics. So you can buy these things. I talked to them and they said, well, it's not for manned aircraft. Okay. Well, what if I tell you I'm buying it for my drone? Yeah, we can sell it to you.
Right. Boom.
So it's
Done.
about $1,500. You got to put a battery with it. And there's actually an allowance in the device. They showed this to me for reporting that you're an ultralight. Now I talked to another company and they said, no, yeah, we don't do ultralights. There's no way to accommodate it. It's like, well, you know, it is there in the specs, but they don't want to deal with the liability, or I don't know why. So my thought is, no, we probably won't need it for a long time unless, you know, we go out there and be stupid. Number two, might not be a bad idea to have if you're going to be flying yourself in places where there are likely to be airplanes. Do you go over 500 feet? Do you fly, you know, within some number of miles of an airport? Yeah, it'd be good to have. Plus, now everybody wins, because not only do you not get hit by the Bonanza, that's one winner. The Bonanza pilot doesn't get his wing torn off by you. That's two. And number three, we don't lose the sport from political pressure. Three big winners from having ADS-B. Just a thought.
Love it. The questions are getting even better by the second. One of the guys, he mentioned about going back up here. Jim, he's a newer pilot. He asked this question. He said, what are the safest shenanigans a never been flown noob can do with reasonable expectations to survive without broken bones? How do we channel our enthusiasm productively while we save for lessons?
Great question. Number one, well, I don't get the save for lessons unless you're talking about more advanced lessons. But I mean, because obviously training is the best money you'll spend. But let's say you're looking at getting more advanced training. There's a section in the book on this. It's precision flying, and it's in the videos, the Master Series. The Master Series are intended for that purpose. The gist is there are some things that you can do to increase precision safely. One is find an open area where it's landable, like sod farms rock.
Oh, yeah.
And fly along at 1 yard high, like 5 feet high. Fly along a straight line and see if you can get comfortable with that. Climb up a few feet and get comfortable with the fact that you swing out and then you swing back down. Get to the point where you can manage that, where you can. Did you see that? That was a management of power to avoid the oscillation, the pitch oscillation. A very little bit of power management can make it so you can do that without needing brakes. Then do it with brakes. So you're flying along, you're controlling your height vertically because you're only 5 feet. And if you screw it up, you're going to touch down. But you're just going to touch down on grass. So it's not the end of the world. And you're controlling yourself laterally because, and I know I've covered this before, but when you pull right brake, your body swings left just a little bit, and you'll only notice it when you're next to the ground. That's why pendular crashes are so prevalent in new pilots when they're either training or even in the beginning after they've had some flights. I had one of these. Thankfully, I didn't crash, but I noticed it. It's like, Jeff, you're backwards. You're pilot induced oscillating this thing. And I had some flights under my belt. I just, and I landed a little firmer than I wanted. It didn't fall, but still, it's like, whoa, I thought I had kind of gotten there. This was probably I would say it was my second year. So I had a number of flights under my belt by that time, and I caught myself falling prey to this. So yes, go to a field with a straight line, landable terrain, and fly along a line. Make a line within a foot of your desire and try to fly it. The videos in the book, they can tell you the mechanics, but only you can get the skill down. And then the other thing about that, it's pretty easy to do that if it's dead calm because you don't get to exercise your Supermanness. Start doing it when it's a little bumpy. In other words, fly a little bit later in the day. We tend to cut it off at, say, 2 hours after sunrise. It's starting to get bumpy. It's like, okay, I don't need it this bad. Well, if you're wanting to build skill, here's a great opportunity. Find this place and go practice there. And you don't have to do landings or takeoffs, but it's a great way. The other way we've already talked about is if it's kind of windy and you're inland, it's going to be nasty air. If you can kite in nasty air, it'll help you in everything you do. There are ways that the wing behaves where kiting, if it's strong enough to keep the wing up, where kiting helps you learn that reaction time. And you hear this time and time again. It's like, well, is it an old wives' tale about all this kiting nonsense? It's not. And you can forecast who's going to be a good pilot by how well not just who can launch, because we know that kiting well helps on launching, but it also helps for skill building in precision flying. So those things can help quite a bit.
Great. That's great input. I love that. Yeah, I can agree that when I first got in, I was just like, anything I can do. One thing that I would throw in there as well is log your progress in a logbook, whether it's kiting or if you're just maybe at the beach playing around on a ridge or something like that. Log what you did that day and the amount of time that you spent, and then watch your progress on paper as well as, document it. Not everybody, I went in with the intention of recording everything with a GoPro. And I also have a logbook with all the launches and landings and all that. But it's a great thing to keep logbook. You still keep a logbook?
No, unfortunately, I don't anymore.
You have to for work though, right?
Well, that thankfully is done via computer. I do log my my general aviation flights.
And do you have like a regular clipboard when you walk around Southwest?
No. It's the Southwest flights are all logged by the computer. So all I have to do is I just have summaries. But the other stuff, I just have a clipboard in the airplane, and I record the flights there. So it doesn't say how you log them, just that you have to be able to show recency and currency.
Guy on here 009 to 090. He asked, does Jeff have a book on how to pack a reserve? that's kind of a tough one, but I'm glad you asked that question. Reserves are all different. So you got to be careful on watching videos too, or reading books on how to pack. What's your answer to that?
Well, number one, I don't have a book, and you're spot on. The reason why I wouldn't do that is because they are all different. New models, new styles are always coming out. The steerables seem to be gaining popularity, and those are apparently more demanding. You better know what you're doing, I think, to repack those. My inclination would be to send it out. I send mine out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a great idea to, if you're really gun ho about doing it, there's classes you can take to pack. And maybe you are, if you're that passionate, maybe you will be the local pack guy, reserve pack guy.
Yeah,
I
that's
think it's
really all it takes. And a lot of the clinics at reserve clinics, they have ways of getting you to toss it, which is great practice on its own. And then afterwards, they go over how to repack your own. That's a great program, especially in the winter.
Especially in the winter. That's right. One more question, and then we're going to go to the after show. Brian Pearson said, what are your thoughts on early pilot SIV? How soon is too soon? Great question.
I've asked this question of people I respect, and I get different answers. You can do it as soon as you're basically at the P2 level. But my thought is this. It's like maybe you can, and you'll learn from it, because any good SIV instructor will only take you as far as your skills allow. But I think that you'll get a lot more out of it after you've had, 50 to 100 flights, good flights, not just, go out and boat around for an hour or two, but where you're actually working some things. Not very heavy, not very steep, but yeah, you want to learn precision flying. You want to go to a higher level. Then I think you get more out of it if you've had, close to 100 flights. But you'll get something out of it, once you're able to confidently launch. And that's kind of a thing. Launching behind a boat is easy because the boat's doing all the work. It's sort of like launching in a wind, but you still want to do it right. I've seen that go wrong. So
yeah,
I think that I wouldn't recommend anyone do it until they're really confident launching, number one. And then number two, have around 100 flights, just so you know more of what's going on. You have more feel for what's normal to know when, oh, wow, okay, that's different.
Well said. That's the most important thing, I think, right there, is that if you don't know what it feels like to have it go awry compared to you're just going in as an SIV, you're going, this is brand new. We're going to deform this wing. We're going to make it do things that you don't know what the difference is because you're just coming in. I've had this debate in my mind where it's like, is it good? Is it bad? I think it's always good, but you're going to spend a lot of money to do it. There's going to be time involved. There's going to be a lot of resources involved, and you can't always do it when you want to. It's not a season, or it's a seasonal thing and not around the clock thing. Certain seasons you can do it. Yeah, I think it's a great idea to do it. Get a little feedback there. So we're going to go to the after show. I really appreciate everybody who has been in the chat tonight. Thanks for the thumbs up. Everybody who liked the video, that helps in pushing the video up in the live videos. And also really appreciate all the Patreon supporters and the guys that support the show on PayPal. You guys make the show great. Keep it going and make it exciting. Really, thank you so much, Jeff, for coming on. And again, wealth of knowledge, such a great resource for the sport and such a great example. I'm stoked. And I really want to fly with you. I don't know how it's going to happen. If you have to fly the helicopter over, there's a place right down the street can do that. Just let me know when and come get me. And,
Hey, Jeff, some people want to know, are you going to Salton Sea next month?
Unfortunately not. We're in the midst of a super involved project and I have got to be home.
Got to get that done.
Yeah. I wish I could because that is so much fun. But anyway, it's been a pleasure. It's always an honor.
Thanks, man. So we're going to go to the after show. If you're one of the Patreon supporters, you can get an invite to come to the after show and actually hang out for a few minutes. And so drop a message in the comments if you want to join. And we're going to see you on the next one. So if I don't see you in there, I'll see you on there. And so talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.